Looks like the recording started.
IT are just confirming that it is streaming on YouTube. Maybe a moment.
Okay, and the voice recording, that's being done as well. Okay, great. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Central Coast Local Planning Panel on the 16th of October 2025. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Darkinjung people, traditional custodians and owners of the land, and pay respect to elders past and present in the ancient culture which they are part. My name's Jason Perrick and I'm chairing today's panel meeting. I've been appointed by the state government. The panel also comprises Kevin Hoffman and Stacey Broadbeck, both council appointed experts, and Adam Koutsamanis, a council appointed community member. The panel is to consider the determination of 5 development applications as published in the business papers on council's website, being for the following 5 sites: 1, 10 Lagoon Street, Ettalong Beach; 2, 132 Patton Street, Woy Woy; 3, 21 to 23 North Avoca Parade, North Avoca; 4, 10 Britannia Street, Umina Beach; and 5, 169 Budgie Woy Road, Budgie Woy. That's the item they're published in the agenda, and that's the order we'll consider them today. I can confirm I don't have any declarations of interest in relation to those 5 matters. I'll just ask the other 3 panel members to confirm they don't have any conflicts.
I have no conflict.
Kevin Hoffman, no conflicts.
Confirmed, Adam.
Stacey Broadbeck, no conflicts. And Adam?
Confirmed, no conflict.
Thank you. So next, what I intend to do is just go over the procedures for today's meeting. Council staff have registered all interested parties who wish to address the panel or listen, and that's being facilitated via an electronic Teams meeting, as you're aware. As in normal procedures, we will hear from registered speakers wanting to address us, and that'll be in order of people who've made written submissions, and then the applicant last. The panel may have questions of any of the speakers, and I'll check that after each talk. The panel has been advised there was a problem with the initial advice of the starting time of this meeting, and that has subsequently been corrected by council staff, so apologies for any inconvenience that may have caused. The panel does have copies of all written submissions regarding each application. This whole meeting is being webcast, as you may have gathered up front, and also voice recorded. And the voice recording will be uploaded on council's website along with the panel decision in the coming days. Next, what I intend to do is read over the registered speakers for each of the 5 items. Sometimes someone gets missed out, not intentionally, so it's possible this may not have captured everyone who believes they've registered to speak, and if that's the case, that's fine. Just let me know after I go through the list and we'll add you on. So for the first item at 10 Lagoon Street, we have Erin Daniel, Gordon Edgar, Kenneth Bright, Todd Parsons, Helen Hamlin, Lucy Lamont and Chris Goodman. For the second item, we don't have any speakers. For the third item in North Avoca Parade, we have Sonia Ebrington, Fourth item, we have Frank Whiffen and Ravi Sharma for the applicant. And for the last item on Budgie Woy Road, we have Ian Piltz, and Bill Drakopoulos. So I'll just pause there and check that there are not other people wanting to address us who didn't hear their name on that list. If so, could you please let us know so I can add you and it's captured by the minutes. If that's the case and you're speaking, you may be on mute. So if that's the case and either you registered and didn't hear your name or you want to address us today, just let us know now. You won't be given the luxury of hearing everyone and deciding to speak last. There is a registration process, so I'm just verifying that now. Doesn't sound like...
I'll just add my name into that, sorry.
Yeah, who was that?
It's Nikolai Hill.
Sorry, Nick, and sorry, how do you spell your surname?
Hill, H-I-L-L.
Oh, that's easy. And which item are you?
Britannia Street.
Okay, thanks. Nick Hill. Anyone else?
Chairperson, yes, Ravi Sharma here. I would.
Yeah, you're on there. I read you out. Yep.
I'd actually like to speak before item 3.2 as well. I think there was a bit of mix-up with communication with the building designer, David Rowe.
Right.
I'm the town planner on that application in terms of the SCE and 4.6 variation.
Okay,
he
no
was-
problem, Ravi. So that's for
That's all right.
132 Patton Street. Now that makes sense. I was wondering why there wasn't a rep for that item. Yeah, no
Great,
problem.
thank you.
Anyone else, or is it just yourself? Mr. Sharma, is there anyone else or just yourself?
David Rowe, he's the building designer. He and myself would.
No, that's fine. How do you spell David's surname?
R-O-W-E.
David Rowe. Got it. Okay, anyone else? Okay, well, that will be it. If I do miss you, it's not intentionally, especially those extra ads at the end. Just let me know when we get to the item. So I'll go over the rest of the procedures. I can let you know the panel has had the benefit of a report from council staff and attachments. They've been made publicly available. We've also received documentation associated with the applications, submission, and received a briefing by council staff. There has also been late submissions provided to the panel for some items, and in some instances, advice in the form of a memorandum from council staff in response to some panel queries. And where such written information has been provided to the panel, it will be uploaded on the website. It's the assessments and the recommendation of council staff the panel is considering today, as well as hearing from those who wish to address us. Speakers have up to 3 minutes each. You can see the time on the screen. There may be a noise at the end of that, and if that's the case, I'll ask you to sum up your address to us. As I mentioned before, we do have all submissions, so there's no great utility in reading verbatim submissions you may have submitted that we've read. As I also mentioned, we may have questions, so I'll just check with the panel as we go. I'd ask that mobile phones be placed on silent and that each speaker be heard in silence while they're addressing the panel. I'd also ask and reiterate keeping your microphone on mute while not addressing the panel to cut down background noise. As previously mentioned, the meeting and the speakers will be webcast and voice recorded and then uploaded on the website. I saw a pop-up message before, but just to reiterate, there is to be no other recording or filming of this meeting. Such recording requires prior permission of the panel, which has neither been sought nor given. Very importantly, there's to be no personal criticism directed at council staff, other speakers, the panel, or people who aren't here. Please be aware this is a public meeting. You're responsible for any comments you make, and they should not be slanderous. Also, please don't seek to denigrate others in an attempt to win a perceived argument. It's also not a question and answer session, so any questions put to the panel will be taken as rhetorical and reflecting an issue of concern, as opposed to a question the panel will answer in the form of getting into any type of debate. Similarly, speakers should not interject or interrupt other speakers. We ask for and expect that courtesy and respect be shown throughout the meeting. People are entitled to their own views, and these views should be respected even if disagreed with. As mentioned, after hearing from speakers and any questions from the panel, we'll move on to the next item, and when that has occurred for all 5 items, we will close this public meeting, and then the panel will move into a deliberation session to make decisions for each of the 5 items. Those decisions will include reasons and be published along with the audio recording of the meeting on Council's website as soon as practicable, and usually within a few days of this meeting. Decisions of the 4-member panel are by majority vote, with the panel having a casting vote if needed. Only a couple more points, so bear with me. Applications will either be approved, refused or deferred. It's possible a panel may make a different decision than recommended by council staff. If a matter is deferred, it's also possible a panel may subsequently determine the application by electronic means without another public meeting. So hopefully all of that is heard and understood. I will now ask Erin Daniel to address the panel. You have 3 minutes. Thanks, Ms. Daniel.
Thanks very much. Thank you for providing the opportunity to speak in relation to item 3.1 on the agenda for the proposed childcare centre at 10 Lagoon Street. I'm the Manager of Perception Planning and I represent the landowner. I'm here to respectfully request deferral of the DA determination and to advocate for the suitability of the proposal in the area, as opposed to the recommendation for refusal. We unfortunately note that the assessment process has been incredibly disappointing, allowing little opportunity for discussion or consideration of the issues raised. Our planning system in New South Wales is built on the fabric of equity, fairness and transparency, which has unfortunately not been applied to this development. We understand, though, that this is not the responsibility of the panel to comment on, so I'll focus on the issues at hand as raised in the agenda. After waiting 14 months for provision of an RFI, a response package was provided in March 2025, which included extensive amendments to respond to the issues raised by both council and the community. Several issues raised in the meeting agenda are incorrect, such as the statement that no craft sink has been shown and that a detailed site investigation was not provided. Should this have been requested after review of the preliminary site investigation, this would have occurred. The specialist report submitted, such as the acoustic report, supports the development through extensive modelling and analysis. On the appearance of the development and consistency with surrounds, the proposal clearly resembles a two-storey dwelling type building that complies with all upper level setbacks and height requirements. The residential style nature of the design, extensive acoustic fencing, and overall small bulk of the building all help to minimise amenity impacts to acceptable levels. This is exactly the type of operator that council should be supporting to come into the local area. We request that council consider the merits of the application, being the provision of a much needed and sensitively designed childcare centre supporting families in the area, as well as creating construction jobs and long-term childcare employment in the community. Whilst we acknowledge that there's still some minor elements to address further, council have taken up to 20 months of the process compared to our 3, clearly showing an unfair amount of opportunity for us to address any concerns raised, which many of our professional consultants disagree with. Taking this into consideration, we respectfully seek support in deferral of the matter for up to 3 months. This will enable a fair assessment of the application and to resolve any outstanding issues with the proponent. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ms. Daniel. Well timed. Look, I didn't have on my notes that you're the applicant's rep because ordinarily I'd ask you to go last. And that's partly so that applicants' representatives can respond to what may have been said earlier by other speakers. So we've heard what you've said, thank you. But I might also afford you the opportunity after hearing from others, given I didn't have you as the applicant's rep on my notes to allow you a short response to the other submissions after we hear from them. Can I just confirm none of the other speakers listed are applicant representatives? Is that right, Erin? You're the only representative for the applicant today?
There is Bill. He's got his hand up.
Right, I'm not
Bill,
sure.
you're on mute at the moment.
And is he registered as wanting to speak, or is he here to answer questions?
I'm not sure. Bill,
I'm Good afternoon. I'm the applicant and I'm wanting to speak.
Okay, we might let you go
for
last.
3.5.
Yeah,
We
that's
might
fine.
let you go last. I'll get your name though, Bill. I went through that before of asking who wanted to address us who didn't hear themselves, and I didn't
Oh,
hear
you
you.
did, and you called out my name.
Did I?
Yes,
Sorry, Bill, are you for item 3.5 or 3.1?
number 5 for
Right.
Budgeway Hotel.
Yeah, Bill, we're not close to your item. We're on the first item, not the 5th.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. I thought you were asking generally. My apologies.
No. Erin, is there anyone in your team who's here today? No. Okay. Sorry for that mix-up. Now, Gordon Edgar, I have next to address us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am a town planning consultant who has lodged an objection to this DA on behalf of a Lagoon Street landowner. 31 individual objections and a petition with 65 signatures speaks to the level of local community objection to this DA. I commend the council's assessment officer on her very thorough assessment report, and I note that the recommendation is for refusal. I also note that this assessment process for this DA has been a very long and drawn out process. This DA was lodged over 2 years ago, and this was after a pre-DA meeting in 2022 when council made it clear that there were multiple issues indicating the proposal was an overdevelopment. The applicant has had very, very generous opportunities to amend the development and submit required information, with council granting at least 4 extensions of time to submit additional information, but still there are multiple outstanding issues remaining, including issues that should have been addressed by the applicant by now, had that been possible. Even after all this time, there are still inconsistencies between the plans and the SCE over the age distribution of the childcare places, and no clear explanation as to how required staff to child ratios will be consistently achieved. And according to the report, there are still 37, that's 37 design elements to this DA that have been assessed by Council's assessment officer as non-compliant with the childcare planning guideline, the industry and employment SEP, and the Central Coast DCP. And they are not supported by this assessment officer. If this DA were to be approved now, it would impose a substandard, dysfunctional childcare facility that would have negative amenity and streetscape impacts on this local community against their wishes. Having read the assessment report in detail, it would seem evident that a 2-storey childcare centre on a relatively small site like this, for 24 children and with just 4 staff being proposed, is simply not appropriate in the context of the surrounding low-density residential built character, and not workable with likely functional and operational problems that will undoubtedly occur. Enough is enough. It would be a waste of everybody's time to allow this DA to remain undetermined and give the applicant any further opportunities to address the outstanding issues, as they have not demonstrated a willingness or a capacity to deliver. The recommendation before the planning panel on this matter is to refuse this DA, and I urge the panel to adopt this reasonable and appropriate recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Edgar, well timed as well. I'll just before I check on questions, Mr. Dracoulis, sorry, I did notice a thing came up about AI taking notes. I'll just reiterate there's to be no recording by AI or any other purpose by anybody at this meeting. So can you please disable that, and anyone else who might be using AI to somehow record this meeting? There's only one official recording that'll be on Council's website, so I just ask you to disable it.
If it has, I give you my word, I'll take it.
Yeah, and anyone else who might be doing something.
So I'll get one of my staff to do it, but I'll give you my
yeah,
word.
yeah, no, that's okay. I've seen that message pop up now and then. I'm not trying to create an issue one doesn't exist, but it's just that other recordings may not fully accurately capture things, and we just want there to be one accurate one. Thanks.
My word.
So questions of Mr. Edgar from panel members? No? Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Edgar. Next is Kenneth Bright. Kenneth, if you're speaking, you may be still on mute. If you're out there, I can't see your name on the list of. Oh,
okay.
No. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm one of the affected. Welcome to everybody on the panel. Good afternoon. I'm a bit nervous because it's not the sort of thing I ever do, and like I'm one of the people that's affected by this. I have some concerns. I mean, I don't mind development, but I don't think that this one's suitable. It's like the council has the minimum development standards for a reason, and this to me is trying to push the boundaries way too far. You know, you give a little bit so things can be done, but to put a big 2-storey building within insufficient parking and everything else in this area, it just doesn't work. But I've said all that in my statement. But what I'd like to bring up are just three other smaller issues. Well, actually not smaller, but I mentioned the magpies. The magpies have been nesting there for the last 30 years we've been here. And if you've looked around our local area in the last even 3 months, there must have been at least half a dozen big trees have come down. And so the magpies are relying more and more on the big trees in my backyard for nesting, safety, and continuous breeding. But there's also can you still hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
There's
we
also
can hear you,
the-
that's fine. Keep going.
the swooping of the magpies, which is going to be dangerous for the kids and the staff. Because of the size of the trees, I'm concerned that tree branches falling. I believe the kids' play area is right at the back, and I believe that the tree branches falling would be a definite risk to the kids. And just to prove my point, across the road in Barrowang Street, there was a council tree that fell down about a week ago. It came right across the road. It brought down power wires. If anybody had been there, it had been killed. And this tree actually, somebody had asked for the council to remove it, and the council had deemed it safe. Well, that's what I was told. So you can see that that was one of my big concerns. And the third one is more about the kids, and it's just a 2-story centre. You're going to end up with kids falling downstairs. I mean, how appropriate is that? You know, if you got the right size block for this development, you could do it on a single level, and it wouldn't be a problem for the kids. That's pretty much all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bright. Any questions from the panel? If there are, just unmute yourself. No? Okay, thank you. Next, I have Todd Parsons.
Oh, hi, panel. Again, I am a resident and owner in the street, so thanks for the opportunity to speak. We've, as a collective, a number of residents in the street have met and discussed this proposal and the council's response, and we are in support of the council's recommendation not to proceed, and would strongly recommend that is adopted. I wanted to just try and add a few points that, as residents, we talked about that perhaps aren't specifically in the documents, or to maybe add to some of the council's assessments with a slightly different perspective. So what I want to mainly talk about is just the safety impacts that the residents feel a development like this would bring. The demographic of the street is quite an elderly population. And one of our concerns is that a lot of the reports and assessments, things like acoustic reports, those types of elements, focus on averages across a general population. But when you have an elderly group of people living around that centre with mobility challenges, hearing challenges, etc., I don't think the reports have adequately outlined that demographic and the impact of the demographic. So a lot of people in the street, for example, use walking aids, scooters, etc. And given that there isn't any widely used footpaths down that street, a lot of residents are forced out onto the road in terms of commuting down the street and using the street. And we feel with the additional load of traffic that the centre would create, that generates a specific safety concern for the residents. Also, no defined driveways for a lot of the houses because there are no footpaths. Things like backing cars in and out, having children running around potentially not necessarily knowing where driveways are or having that level of awareness. The residents have a lot of anxiousness around potentially accidents happening, and no one wants to see that happen. So generally speaking, with the extra load on the street in terms of traffic, potentially heavy traffic picking up waste, etc. from the centre, we believe that the roads and the system around it won't be able to handle that level of traffic and that level of operation and still be functional for the residents that are there. We also think in terms of the operational elements of the centre that they didn't cover things like functions. Most daycare centres have significant number of functions for parents, Christmases, Father's Days, Mother's Days, etc. That could, at peak times, create 30 or 40 cars trying to park in that street near the centre. So again, we think those elements create a whole bunch of safety concerns. Really just wanted to focus on those key elements and have the council consider some of those in terms of safety. And I note my time is up. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Next, I have Helen Hamlin. I don't think there are any questions from the panel.
Thank you. So my family recently bought and moved into the redeveloped number 8 Lagoon Street, which is now a dual occupancy. We're on the side closest to 10 Lagoon Street. Every downstairs window in our property and all but 2 of the upstairs windows are on the side neighbouring 10 Lagoon Street. A 2-storey building, the size and proximity to the boundary that has been proposed would significantly reduce our natural light and increase noise. A fence of 2.4 metres compared to the existing fence of 1.75 metres would further reduce our natural light and negatively impact the aesthetic of the garden. There would also be smells from used nappies, noting the location of the bin store adjacent to the boundary with our property, which would be at their worst in the summer heat, when we will spend the most time in our garden. During holiday periods when we most like to relax in peace at home, either indoors with windows open or in the garden, the proposed centre will still be operating, outdoor playtimes or indoor with windows open, and the noise from a commercial level air conditioner will impede on our enjoyment of our garden. This is also when we may be entertaining in the garden during the day with alcohol and adult conversations. Even upstairs with our windows open with 2 medium double fan condenser units assumed to be on the roof of number 10 per the acoustic report, we will experience a continuous hum and a loud hum instead of the current sounds of birds and trees blowing in the breeze. Although the acoustic report is dated April 2025, the site photos are from before the house was demolished at 8 Lagoon Street. The receiver ID is noted as being placed at 8 Lagoon Street. That is, the acoustic report is not based on recent information and as well as having numerous assumptions rather than confirmed information. Council's assessment outlines a number of concerns about the centre itself and some of child safety. On that, I'd just like to add that in an evacuation scenario, if all the children are on the first floor, it would not be possible for 4 staff to safely get 24 children of childcare age down the stairs sufficiently quickly. For traffic and parking, given the inconvenience of manoeuvring that will be required in the proposed parking area, it's likely that, like the Guardian Childcare Centre nearby, staff would park on neighbouring grass verges rather than using the centre staff parking. The operational plan's car park policy includes that if parents plan to remain at the centre for over 15 minutes at peak times, they may be required to park outside the car park. There is insufficient space in Lagoon Street to safely accommodate this, and it would pose inconvenience to the residents who may also be trying to go to and from work and school at those times. My car was reversed into a couple of weeks ago. There's already quite a bit of car shuffling in Lagoon Street, which is the narrowest in the surrounding area. The car park policy also states that in consideration of residents, staff should, I quote, not always be taking the same parking spots, try and use a variety of spots. This suggests that despite providing staff parking, they expect their staff to be parking on the street. The operational plan doesn't consider the impacts of noise, exhaust fumes and headlights, given the proximity to neighbouring properties and their windows, and made even worse by the need to manoeuvre, and even more so for delivery and service vehicles, given the insufficient turning space. The objectives of R1 residential zoning, as set out in Central Coast Local Environmental Plan, relate primarily to providing housing needs for the community. Demolishing a residence.
Sorry to butt in, but I'll just ask you to sum up your remaining points rather than read them verbatim. If you could just summarise your remaining points.
Okay. Yeah, it's just that the R1 residential zoning, the proposed childcare development doesn't align with that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions from the panel? Someone mute yourselves. No, doesn't sound like it. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Hamlin. Next, I have Lucy Lamont.
I'm just checking my microphone's working.
Yes, we can hear you.
Fabulous, thank you. Councillors, my name's Lucy Lamont and I've lived in Edelong since 2021 and on the Central Coast since 2015. I'm a mum of 4 kids. They've been in childcare actually since 2017. My eldest is now 14, but my youngest 2 are twins and they are age 5 currently in preschool. They currently attend Explore and Develop in Umina Beach on West Street. I'm speaking in support of the Council's recommendation to refuse the development application for 1890/2023 for the Childcare Centre at 10 Lagoon Street. And I do concur with the previous speakers today who have also given their time to speak. Under clause 3.1 of the childcare planning guidelines, the need for childcare facilities, new centres must respond to a demonstrated need within their local catchment. So if I can just take a minute regarding the local demographics, I'd ask you to note that according to the last recorded Australian census in 2021, Ettalong Beach has a population of 5,161 residents and a median age of 54. Only 225 children aged 0 to 4 years, and just 94 of those attending preschool. To emphasise the data, it means that Ettalong Beach has an older demographic and a young base of small children. And as the council plans for new childcare centres across the Central Coast, childcare should be prioritised in adjacent suburbs like Umina, which in the same census data show a population with 986 children, 441 in preschool, over 4 times the number as Ettalong Beach. This shows a stronger demand in even our surrounding suburbs. And in regards to that, I just want to add that within the 2 kilometres of this proposed site, there are already multiple childcare services meeting existing demand for childcare. That includes Wallaby Street Early Learning at Blackwell, Umina Kids Club at Umina, Aussie Beach Kindies Early Learning, Peninsula and District Family Daycare, Good Start Early Learning, Belong Early Learning, Explore and Develop Early Learning, Booker Bay Preschool, and Booker Bay Belong at Booker Bay, and also Explore and Develop, 2 local preschools that are already expanding and have already put applications in with council to expand on the amount of children that they can currently take. So we've got this capacity sort of issue with surrounding suburbs for potentially not enough childcare, but here in Ettalong, it's just not the same need. I also just wanted to address the 13th of October 2026, there's 88 childcare jobs advertised on Seek within 5 kilometres of Umina Beach and Ettalong, and 19 of those have been open for over a month, which is a clear evidence of staff shortages. So this development will compete for the same limited workforce and it's at a time when there's already a crucial sort of need for trying to find educators. I think it goes against the principles of supporting other local businesses when you're trying to sort of add an additional business in providing the same services, but unable to service them with the staff that they require.
Thanks, Ms. Lamont. I'll just ask you to sum up any remaining points you want to make.
I probably would have liked to just reiterate a few things around the safety. I've got 4 kids and I know what it's like to drive in and out of a preschool and have to get multiple kids out of the car in one sort of spot. And here on Lagoon Street, it's dangerous, you know, like I don't even like taking my kids out the front of my house because the parking is chaos. There's no footpath, there's no dedicated car spots where people can pull over safely. People park horizontally, vertically, on an angle, and it creates poor visibility. And that's why one of the neighbours across the road had their car hit the other day. It was actually someone visiting my house who hit her house, hit the car out.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Lamont. I'll just ask panel members any questions. If so, just unmute yourself. None from me. Okay, thank you. Chris Goodman.
Oh, good afternoon. Look, thank you very much for letting us just speak, and thanks very much to my other neighbours. Most of the notes that I've got and most of my bullet points have already been discussed. I'm in number 14. I bought into the area about 5 years ago, and with a view to obviously moving in, myself and my wife, and retiring in the peace and quiet of what we thought was a bit little street in a lovely little part of the Central Coast. Look, one of my bigger concerns, and my previous speaker mentioned as well, is the street is quite a narrow road. I've witnessed it in literally the last couple of days when the rain's coming down, the street's partially flooded. The actual driving surface and the walking surface is almost a couple of feet wide. And we've still got kids, dogs, parents, and as one of the earlier speakers said, we've got some of the elderly residents in the street manoeuvring their way down the street, either heading up towards the shops down Springwood or down to Barrenjoey. It's a very, very difficult and a very small street, and as council may know, it's got potholes. There was a witch's cone sort of sitting down in a hole last week waiting for council to come and fill the holes up. And the street's just not got the capacity to deal with more traffic than what's been produced by the residents. And as one of the previous speakers said, the getting in and out of the streets, watching kids ride bikes, it becomes difficult. Look, other issues obviously been talked about, the makeup of the street, and I've got to know some of the neighbours over the last few years. They're of an early nature, and the mobility is almost non-existent. My neighbour next door in number 12 literally can't get out without the help of government and council services. and she'd be in that situation where dealing with potentially noise, traffic, and the other issues that currently she doesn't have to deal with, and she doesn't have the ability to be able to get out or get away. And I'd hate to see her have to go back inside the house if it becomes too much for her. I don't think it's fair. And look, likewise, purely from a personal point of view, we've moved into this area expecting that we can enjoy the retirement that we've all worked hard to achieve, and to do it in the peace and quiet of our own house, and be able to go in the backyard and not feel guilty or resentful that maybe the kids in the house a couple of doors down making lots of noise and screaming. And I appreciate we must have solid childcare. We do need it facilities, but I do honestly think this little street, this area, is just not suitable. Surely on a larger block of dirt and with proper streets and proper parking, it might be more worthwhile. And I just get the sense that the applicant is trying to shoehorn a facility into a site which is just too small in the wrong location. And I again prefer that they're relocated somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Any questions from panel members? No. Okay. As mentioned up front, Ms. Daniel, I would have asked you to go last, but the notes I had didn't have you as the applicant's rep. So I'll just give you the opportunity, if you like, to not necessarily repeat the points you made previously, but if there's any points that were made by submitters you'd like to respond to, happy to hear that.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I think that you know, it's important that, you know, as any applicant and any developer as part of the process, we understand that there are a number of issues that can be raised throughout the process, and we are certainly open to having those conversations with the council and the community, had they, you know, given the opportunity to us to do that much earlier in the process. So you know, I guess as part of this meeting, it's difficult to go through each and every single one of those comments, but would certainly welcome the opportunity to have that open and transparent conversation with the community, potentially even on site or at the council as part of the process. And, you know, if there is certain design elements that could be resolved through the designer, you know, obviously I'm a town planner, not a designer, they certainly would be open to that as well. So I'm not sure this is the forum to sort of go through each of those elements, but yeah, as I said, you know, open to having that conversation with the community and the council if the opportunity was available.
Thanks, Ms. Daniel. Any questions from panel members of the applicant's representative? I guess I'm interested. One of the things, there are a few listed, the leaving the site in the forward direction, is that one of the issues you put in that category, Ms. Daniel, of things that your consultants disagree with, or do you accept that there are issues with relying on other parking spaces to enable vehicles to exit in the forward direction?
Yeah, I mean, from memory of the application itself into the specifics, I understand that there is the ability to leave the site in a forward direction. However, again, not being an engineer, I wouldn't be able to completely rely on that without further review and discussion with them. But from memory, the discussions were that is achievable, but would have to review those site swept paths again.
Okay. Any other questions from panel members? No more from me. Doesn't sound like it. Okay, well, thanks. We've heard what you've said about the request for deferral and the delays and your concerns about opportunities throughout the process. We've also heard all the points made by submitters today and received all the submissions. So we'll give close consideration to all those matters in our deliberations after this meeting. So I'm about to move on to the second item, which is in Patton Street, Woy. For those who are here for Lagoon Street, you're welcome to stay. There's no real point because you won't be hearing a decision. That will happen after the meeting's closed and be published in coming days. But if you do wish to listen in, you're welcome. Otherwise, thanks for your attendance, and we will move on to 132 Patton Street, where we have Ravi Sharma and David Rowe listed to speak to us in whichever order you prefer.
David, are you there? looks like I'm up. Unfortunately, looks like David hasn't been able to join us. However, I can speak before the panel in terms of the proposal. Is there anyone else speaking on this item?
No, we don't have anyone else. We don't have any other registered speakers other than yourself.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson and panelists, to speak on a late notice on this.
Sorry, Ravi, I am here. Thank you.
David. Okay.
And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, David, could you present the proposal and I'll discuss it in terms of planning grounds in light of council's recommendations as well.
Good afternoon, panel. David Rowe, designer, regulated building designer. I have been given the opportunity to redesign the project again. Would you like me to get visual on this? I'm not sure how I get my face up there, but anyway. We've asked to prepare a 2-unit dual occupancy development for the site on a number of occasions, and the brief was to provide the best possible outcome for the future residents of the site, with adequate and the best amenity possible for the future occupants. With that, we decided to go with a 2-unit detached development, which offered the best amenity available for the site, north-south facing site, reasonable setbacks to both the front and rear setbacks, separation of the 2 homes, which provided viewing and breeze corridors between the two buildings, and also afforded the opportunity for those breezes and light corridors to be available to the adjoining developments. The amenity and planning outcomes, Ravi will get to those, but it was a well-considered design, and the proposal addressed generally, it addressed all of the DCP requirements and generally complied with all of those requirements. The outcome we felt was the best for the site, and with that said, I'll pass you over to Ravi.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I won't go on too long, but in terms of the opportunity here is to provide a typology that would be, in our view, as Dave mentioned, a superior planning outcome as opposed to an attached, compliant dual occupancy design. Rather, in this instance, we pursued a detached development to allow superior acoustic attenuation, lights, sunlight access to the site and surrounds, better delineation of the built form and separation, which is encouraged by Chapter 2.2 DCP, dual occupancy and multi-unit developments. They seek to have separation and landscape and courtyard separation between the built form. It's not often the case with multi-unit development, nor attached dual occupancy development to provide that separation in the built form and negate overbearing massing when presented to the neighbouring sites and public domain. So in that light, I think in terms of the report from council and their reasons for refusal on the DCP clauses, they've gone to the site setback, which requires an upper floor setback a quarter above 4.5 height. So it comes in on the sides. If you look at the elevations, you can see that's quite negligible outside that upper floor. It's only really the top eave or the top of the roof when you look at the architectural plans or the elevations on the design. So it's really minor, I guess, in that aspect. The other non-compliance was in terms of the deep soil zone. council, we've calculated compliance. Council is saying, well, if you include the infiltration trench for the stormwater, then it's shy of the numerical mark. Now, I believe that has been relocated to be under the dwelling or the driveway, and therefore it would be compliant with the landscaping and deep soil component within that site cover clause within the DCP. So that's very questionable in terms of that non-compliance. Lastly, the council have indicated that the POS located within the front setback is non-compliant. We don't debate that or question that non-compliance. However, we believe in terms of the objectives being achieved, the POS can be the optimum space for the POS for the front unit would be to obtain the best solar access, rather than be positioned between the building and the fence. There's an opportunity to achieve maximum solar access to that POS area with courtyard fencing, which is permitted, and to be suitably screened by a good distance of landscaping in front of the front courtyard fencing. Council have recently accepted such POS areas within the front setback, most recently at 14 Tilapia Street, Booker Bay.
Mr. Sharma, I'll just ask you, we did receive some examples I think you were sent by email. Can I just ask you to summarise your remaining points you'd like to make?
Yep. So I'm saying the non-compliances are minor and don't warrant refusal. And the LEP variation to the minimum lot size, which I'm going to go to, shouldn't be hamstrung in terms of the numerical departure. In terms of that variation, the Land Environment Court has outlined that the magnitude of the departure isn't the crux of a refusal, but rather what it means in terms of not meeting the objectives or the application not being sound in terms of meeting 4.3 of the LEP 4.6 variation clause, that being compliance being unreasonable or there are sufficient environmental planning grounds to meet, in this case, the sole objective of the minimum lot size for dual occupancies. There is, if you have the opportunity.
I think I was asking for a summary, so if you can try and wrap up your points. We've read your clause 4.6, we understand that. So any additional comments you'd like to make in the summary, please?
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that if the panel could please go through the 4.6 variation.
We have read the 4.6.
I believe there's sufficient planning grounds for it to meet the 4.6 parameters and also the parameters set by the Land Environment Court for a written variation to be adequate.
Thank you.
May I interject, Chair, if you don't mind? I had 60 seconds left on my clock, but I'll only need probably 15. Due to these circumstances,
Mr. Sharma's taken up more than that. Yeah, if you could be quick, that'd be good.
Thank you, Chair. With that said, we have afforded council with different scenarios for the development. It's been well considered. We've demonstrated that an attached development still does not comply with or cannot still comply fully with the DCP requirements due to the nature of the site, and it is a less than adequate solution for the site. So we would ask that council would reconsider the two scenarios that we've presented to council, give them further consideration, and afford us the opportunity for some further negotiation before the refusal is handed down. We would require another 21 days to renegotiate and discuss with council in greater depth the alternative scenarios that we have offered council, and ask for more than just a blanket no. We consider this not to be a better solution. We would like to have some discussion if that's at all possible.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Questions from the panel? I guess one of the things that wasn't mentioned was in the report, the assessment of the sunlight access. So is that something you agree or disagree with council staff's assessment, given they added some detail that wasn't there in your shadowed plans, and anything briefly you'd like to say about that?
The shadowing access, it complies with the minimum requirements of the DCP. They've been generated by a computer-aided design, and those time intervals can be provided at hourly, half-hourly, 15-minutely, 10-minutely, 1-minutely, if it gets down to that. So able to provide additional information to support.
And you've read the council staff report and read their assessment of your analysis, or not?
Not completely, only an overview, Chair. Correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
We can provide additional information to support our case.
Yeah, thank you. Doesn't appear there's any other questions, so thank you, Mr. Sharma and Mr. Hill. We will now move on to 21 to 23 North Avoca Parade, North Avoca. I think the only speaker we have for that item is Sonia Ebrington, who I understand is the applicant. Is that right, Miss Ebrington?
Yes,
if you're
correct. Yes.
Okay, we're all ears.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm the owner of the Boy and the Rose Cafe. Thanks for allowing me to speak today about my DA application for the cafe. I would like to talk briefly about the 12-month trial period that's been recommended. I would like to request that this condition be removed, please. The cafe has been an integral part of the community for over 10 years now and has operated responsibly the whole time. To date, there haven't been any formal noise complaints or compliance issues, and it's become a well-supported local spot for residents. The previous owner had a 12-month trial dining period approved by Strata that was very successful with the local community, and no complaints or incidents were recorded to my knowledge. A 12-month trial period would directly affect trading. It would create significant uncertainty for me as a small business, especially when a substantial upfront investment would be required to establish the evening operation. Costs that cannot reasonably be justified under the risk of non-renewal after only 12 months of operation. I have had a detailed acoustic report completed by Spectrum Acoustics. The report clearly indicates that the cafe, including the outdoor seating and evening hours, meets all the New South Wales EPA and liquor and gaming noise limits. So from a technical point of view, it's compliant and low impact. In addition, Liquor and Gaming New South Wales and New South Wales Police already provide strong ongoing regulatory oversight for all licensed venues. Any noise or behaviour concerns would be swiftly addressed under existing powers without the need for a council-imposed trial period. A temporary consent would only create uncertainty for the business. It requires another application and further cost, even though all the technical evidence and compliance history show the venue operates responsibly. Removing the trial period would give the business certainty while still allowing council to enforce compliance through its usual mechanisms if required. The application fits perfectly with the aims of the E1 local centre zone. It activates the area, supports walkability, which is how most of our customers come to the cafe, and brings people together in a positive community-led environment. Removing the trial would give the cafe stability to keep investing in the space and supporting local jobs, while council still retains all its normal powers to address any problems if they ever arise. In summary, the cafe has proven record of responsible operation. The acoustic evidence confirms compliance and appropriate regulatory oversight already exists. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the panel to remove the application without the 12-month trial period condition. Thank you so much for considering this.
Thanks, Ms. Ebringham. Well timed. I'll just check if there's any questions from panel members. Yeah, I think just unmute yourself, whoever wants to go first out of Kevin and Stacey.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
The previous approval for dining, did that include liquor license?
To my knowledge, I believe it was BYO.
Yes, okay. Because that seems to be one of the issues, that people have raised when they object. What have you got? Is it the same answer that you've just given us about allowing the police and the council to control it if their worst fears are realised?
Well, to my knowledge, like liquor and gaming and New South Wales Police can revoke any licence at any given time. So if there is any untoward behaviour that happens on licensed premises, they can shut you down within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Broderick?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, quite a few of the submissions mentioned the use of the toilet that's internally to the attached apartment building. So I just wanted to ask for a response to that, how that was to be managed.
We had a strata meeting previously, which the minutes were sent through to the planner that I've been dealing with on the council, and those minutes say there's no restrictions, but there was a motion within that strata meeting that the strata corporation can deliberate if something untoward happened. They would call another meeting and discuss the toilets.
Okay.
Any other questions in the panel? Doesn't sound like it. So is there anything else you want to, I mean, I've got to say, it's not the biggest cafe in the world, and the hours, I mean, it opens pretty early at the start of the day, but 9 o'clock isn't the latest in the, closing hours on some nights of the week. So what's your sort of overall take on 12 submissions? It was a little bit of a surprise to me. For perhaps it might have been a good news story, but what's your take on why there's been the submissions, and is there anything further you want to add in response to submissions?
My take on the submissions is there's a couple of older people that use the units above as holiday apartments, so they don't live there permanently, but they're the ones with the biggest voice. And they just want North Avoca to remain nice and quiet. They feel that the cafe is already too loud, but with all the reports that we've had, it's not loud. It actually, a lot of patrons, I've had such an overwhelmingly response to for the cafe naturally, but moving forward for the evening, it's only literally a handful of people that don't want it. But as I said, they're not permanent residents of North Avoca.
Okay, thank you. So if there aren't any last questions, we've heard and understood what you've said. We've read submissions for people who aren't here anyway, and we understand your request to remove the trial period because of the impacts it may have and other alternatives that exist. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on to 10 Britannia Street, Numina Beach, and I have Frank Whiffen followed by Nick Hall, and then we'll move to Ravi Sharma. So, Mr. Whiffen, if you're out there, I can see
Thank you.
There. Yeah.
Thank you. My name's Frank Whiffen. I live in Woy Woy. I'm here representing the Peninsula Residents Association. I think it's fair to say that our initial main concern with this building was the removal of the street tree, which we thought was unnecessary, but that has since been resolved. But we never like these gun barrels because they're always an overdevelopment. They're just huge areas of concrete, very little vegetation, just not good for the area. There's far too many of them. First of all, I'd like to say how impressed I was with the council officer's thorough assessment of this DA. The history of this DA tells a story the public very seldom get to hear. The massive delays caused by applicants' inability to provide timely responses to requests for more information is at odds with politicians and the media would have us believe that delays in processing development applications are all the fault of the council, and that the way forward is to cut out red tape and bypass the council and the community whenever possible. What piqued my interest about this DA was the attention to the solar shadowing. I think this is the first time I've seen an applicant told to redo the shadow diagrams using true north rather than an incorrect north point. Bravo, I say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm under the impression that while the documents for development applications must first be lodged on the New South Wales planning portal, it is the responsibility of the council to formally check and accept those documents, and that an application is not legally made until this has been done. Surely the most important feature of a site plan or shadow diagrams is an accurate north point. Therefore, when they were lodged back in 2023, some of the documents for this DA were not fit for purpose, as they relied on an incorrect north point, falsely portrayed as true north, and should not have been accepted. I'm pleased to note that the Central Coast Council are now actively refusing to accept drawings using incorrect north points. However, it was disappointing in this case to see that the shadow diagrams supplied in the revised notification plans, revision 4 for this DA, are still unbelievably using the wrong north point. This is confirmed in council assessments, in the council assessment. This means that all of the shadow diagrams are out by 7.2 degrees, which is the difference between true north and the actual orientation of the site. Some people might say that this is insignificant. Consulting Geoscience Australia, we find that the azimuth angle of the sun measured clockwise from true north at 12 noon for this location is 21, on the 21st of June is 359 degrees. At 11 a.m. it's 15 degrees. That means that the angle of the sun has changed by 16 degrees in 1 hour, or 1 degree every 3
Can I ask you to summarise as you would have heard with all the other speakers? Yep.
Yes, I've just about finished. So that means for every 1 degree, basically 3.7 is basically represents 3.75 minutes. So 7.2 degrees represents an error of 27 minutes. So the shadow diagram for 12 noon is really depicting the shadow that occurred at 11:33 because the sun is traveling anti-clockwise. This is not insignificant. Maybe it's just red tape. Regardless of other problems with this DA, and there's plenty of them, I don't think the Central Coast Council should be approving DAs that contain blatantly incorrect drawings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitman. Any questions from the panel?
Is it only the shadows that concern you?
No, it's not only the shadows, but I wanted to concentrate on those because it's been a little hobby horse of mine, and I've probably spent years trying to convince the council not to accept drawings with incorrect north points, which cause these problems with the shadow diagrams.
Well, you're keeping on about the north point. We've heard all of that. What about any other issues?
Well, other reasons are the fact that all of these traditional gun barrels, where you have 3 units on a relatively small site with concrete driveway going the entire length of the site and taking up that plus the actual building itself, taking up most of the area, leaving very, very small areas for trees and other vegetation, means that the Central Coast, which not the Central Coast, the peninsula, which is already, let's face it, it's already a heat island. Its temperature is like 5 degrees more than most other places on the Central Coast, such as Gosford, for instance. Because of this heat island effect, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse the more of these things we build.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the panel? None from me. So next we have Nick Call.
Oh, sorry, I think you're after myself, Nikolai Hill.
Yes.
I'm for the applicant. I'll let Ravi go first.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my mistake.
No problem.
Whichever order you'd prefer.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry, Ravi, just to
Yeah,
cut in, I'm happy we won't
yes.
start the clock, but I'm happy if you want to share those 3 minutes in. But if with those 6 minutes, I know it's for refusal, and so happy to grant a bit of latitude. But if you can try and stick to that time frame, that'd be appreciated.
We'll do our best and try to be concise. Yeah, again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak and fellow panelists. Yeah, this multi-unit development is located in the R1 general residential zone, which supports a variety of dwelling typologies, from single dwelling houses and dual occupancies, multi-unit development, RFBs if so desired. This is very similar to many multi-unit developments on these size single lots with 3 units being proposed, with driveway on one side, building in the middle, and POS located on either side. In this case, it's the rear unit has the benefit of POS located across the entire rear boundary, as opposed to many which is just occupied by visitor parking and POS on one side. So I believe there was 11 submissions first round of advertising, which honed in on largely just one aspect, that being the removal of the tuckaroo tree within the council strip, which would have been removed with the driveway located on the eastern side. During the course of assessments, I believe with 3 different assessment officers, due to, I guess, staff limitations and demand of volume of DAs, it was during the course of assessment, the design was flipped to negate the impact on that tuckaroo tree now being retained as part of the proposal, which I do not dispute the benefit and value of mature trees in the landscape, be it on the site or within the public domain. It will soften the development from the public domain in this case, due to its locality squarely within the front of the site. I believe at the end of the day, council are looking to refuse this DA on, I believe, quite minor, very minor aspects, and I'll quickly go through them. One is being the length of the wall being over 10 metres. However, council's assessment is incorrect. It's only if it's over 3 metres in height. So the operative word is "and." That has been misconstrued in terms of saying it's not compliant, and also the fact that it's the wall that they're pointing to is in the undercroft on the ground floor. So obviously would not be perceived by the neighbouring occupants or the public domain due to fencing and landscaping. So that was the first one. Was that the parking would not comply. Again, the issues raised are really minor that could be quickly thrashed out between the consultant engineer and council development engineer. That opportunity hasn't been provided. That's normally the case when 2 specialists question minor aspects of sweep paths. I think if this was deferred, this could be quickly resolved. Our consulting engineers indicated that this could, we're actually compliant with the buffer on the AS 2890.1 provisions of street parking standard. Again, I have done a million of these applications where the 2 consultant engineers have a chat, we thrash it out, work it out, and we're away. I think that could be resolved very quickly. The other one was the use of plain concrete for the driveway was not supported. That's a first. To be honest, it's in the report. Every multi-unit RFB driveway I've seen being constructed is concrete. I'm not sure where they're going with that. I'll leave you to review that in the report. And lastly, solar access. Now, I believe the calculation of solar access by council has not taken into account Unit 3. Now, you must consider that a north-south orientated lot is very difficult to obtain compliant solar access to the POS on any development. Due to the short boundary being facing north, council have accepted this on numerous DAs where usually the southern unit does not achieve that 3-hour compliance on the 21st of June. Now, in this case, we believe that Unit 1 and 2 receive that and comply. Unit 3 may not get the 22.5% square meterage mark to be half the POS requirement per the sunlight clause provision. However, it receives greater than 2 hours to about 20 square metres over a 6-hour period, which I believe is a greater, better, superior planning outcome than a compliant one, due to the benefit of having a POS across the entire width of the rear boundary, as opposed to just being on one side. So these are the aspects council looking to refuse it. I think they do not warrant a fatal recommendation of refusal. They are minor. We've
thank you, Mr. Sharma.
we've appeased the concerns in terms of the main objections from the submissions, that being the street tree, and I think it is probably better, if not commensurate, with all the other multi-unit developments within this precinct and the LGA in general. So again, I thank you. And lastly, the alternative outcome, which is happening in the LGA, is a side-by-side dual lock with a garage-dominated monolithic box with only requiring 2 parking spaces where people are storing all their...
Okay, understand that point. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. You just finish up.
Or a single dwelling house and a secondary dwelling, which could have 6 bedrooms and only require 2 off-street parking spaces, with no ability to achieve what the Central Coast affordable and alternative housing strategy is begging for, and the state government, Commonwealth government, for smaller housing topologies and tenure to allow affordable housing to occur. So again, it's an R1 zone, variety of typologies.
Yeah, no need to repeat earlier points. Thanks, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Hill, given that time taken up there, are you just going to be answering queries from the panel, or is there any new matters you want to raise?
It would just be rehashing. Can I have a quick 30 seconds?
Right, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Essentially, we have an application that complies on all the major planning constraints, heights, setbacks, landscaping requirements. All the issues that have been raised can very quickly and easily be resolved with some communication with engineers, myself and council. We think we can come to a good outcome here with a collaborative back and forth exchange. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Questions from the panel? Ms. Brodbeck?
Yeah, I'd just like to address the street tree issue. Mr. Whiffen said that he thought the tree was being retained. The Mr. Sharma has also said that he believes the tree is to be retained. However, in the business papers on page 132, addressing that issue, council has said that the tree will have to go because curb and gutter will be required along that street. So I'd really like the response of Mr. Sharman to that issue.
Have council, this is the first I've heard of this, and in regards to, I think there's ways and means to retain it. I think the arborist could come and do an assessment. I think it's valuable. I agree. I think it's a mature tree. It's I don't know if it's indigenous, might be native, the tuckeroo species, but
it's native.
Native. Yep, I agree. I think there's ways and means that could be retained. I haven't heard of this before in terms of having to be removed. Nikolai?
We've specifically redesigned the application to retain the tree. So the full intention was to retain the tree with this revision of the plan. So we would be more than happy to work with council to retain that tree, because that's why we essentially spent the time, the back and forth with council, and flipped the entire design to try and appease the local community.
I mean, the reason I wanted to clarify it was because obviously it's an issue that was raised in a lot of submissions, and you know, people that are listening to this presentation, I don't want them to be left with the idea that it's 100% going to be retained, because at the moment that sounds quite questionable, even with your good intentions. So I just wanted to have that on the record.
Sure.
Again, if we could have the opportunity, I don't think we've got any major showstoppers here. Like if you go through the other aspects that we've just discussed, I think there's an opportunity to resolve this quickly, like they're minor, like engineering. I think there's a question on stormwater. It's a notation that's been left off a plan that can be done overnight. There's nothing in terms of huge aspects like an FSR or height of building variation or LEP variation here. I think we've been frustrated by a lack of, I guess, collaborative approach, given we're close. We've been working hard to resolve all the issues, and I think you can see that it's like 95% compliant with everything. I don't actually more so. I don't think there's anything when you really look at it, but that would include further insight and ability to have that tree assessed by a consulting arborist.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions?
No, thank you.
No. And look, in response to Mr. Whippen's comment about island heating and gun barrel design, I've got to say I share some of the concerns about the ordinariness of gun barrel designs in the Central Coast, but I know there's no, surprisingly in some way, no minimum site width or site area for medium density developments. There is for some other forms of development. But what do you say to the critique about the form of development itself, the heat island effects, and chewing up most of the site in hard paving and access?
Oh, look, in relation to the provisions that are available, we're just following what council set, and the community. Obviously, when these DCPs were established, there was community consultation undertaken when these documents and planning controls were established for the local area. So again, there was an opportunity there. Council strategic planners and management have come down to set the standards in terms of height, setbacks, design topologies that are available. So again, I think this is a much better outcome when compared to what a complying development could be done for a dual occupancy development, where they are somewhat overbearing, lack parking. You do not have to consider solar access. It's just if you meet the setbacks, you're away. Council has no opportunity to assess it. Either does the public in terms of, or community to provide submissions against it. And this is what's occurring. And I'm a bit like you, Mr. Chairperson. There's certain typologies that I just detest, and I think that being a single dwelling house and a granny flat.
Right, I think you made those points before, Mr. Sherman. Wasn't an invite to
the monolithic side-by-side dual occupancy.
Yeah, I think you made that point
is
before.
becoming a plethora around this area, because it's council are refusing other forms and shooting themselves in the foot to use that vernacular or that statement.
Thank you. Any last questions from the panel?
No, thank you.
No. Okay. Thank you. We'll now move on to 169 Budgewoi Road, Budgewoi. I have Ian Piltz. You're still with us? Yes, I see you on the list. You're on mute, I think, at the moment.
I am. Thank you for the opportunity. Initially, I wasn't going to speak, given the council's detailed recommendation for rejecting the application. However, I was approached by a few neighbours, and we felt it was important to give the panel some context of the neighbourhood concerns. For others on the call, it's regarding an extension of trading hours of the Budgewoi Hotel. My family moved into Ocean Street in Budgewoi in 2001 with full awareness of the location of the hotel. And prior to the current ownership, it was largely uneventful, with previous ownership working with the residents to alleviate any concerns that we had. The Sydney Restaurant Group acquired the hotel in late 21. Following renovations, it reopened in 2022. Prior to the reopening, the Sydney Restaurant Group, who are operators of 16 venues in addition to the hotel, according to their website, engaged a significant construction company, Club Project Newcastle, to relocate a kitchen into an area that was previously an outdoor dining area and expand the floor area of the hotel by relocating the eastern block wall, impacting residents due to the redesign and resulting in the liquor and gaming complaint. All of this was done without council consultation, and according to the council's assessment report, these unauthorised works are still under assessment and yet to be determined. So we have two significant companies completing unauthorised work, and 3 years later has still not been approved. Doesn't really pass the pub test for me. It's almost 3 years after it reopened. I'd love to hear from Bill on how this oversight occurred. So from a resident's experience of 23 years living near the hotel, the period of ownership of the Sydney Restaurant Group has been the most challenging. The hotel has had 4 licensees in the past 4 years, with a new licensee just appointed last month. The hotel has been issued a written warning by Liquor and Gaming New South Wales in May 2024, which details incidents of unruly behaviour and noise, particularly on closing, and this demonstrates the inability of the venue to cope with the current hours of operation, let alone an extension of hours. The hotel has been dismissive of residents' concerns. The hotel has had operational challenges in exiting patrons from the facility that were not an issue for previous ownership or management. Current published studies indicate an increase in antisocial behaviour and problem gambling with an increase in trading hours. I don't believe extending the hours of operation is the answer to any operational challenge, and the application has failed to adequately address what the current challenges are, why an extension of hours or a need for an extension of hours, a management plan for extended operation detailing things like lockouts, additional parking, those kind of things. So in short, the police don't support the application, the council don't support the application, and the local residents certainly don't represent the application or support the application. And that's, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Piltz. I didn't have the clock working there, but I was watching the clock and I think it stayed within that time period. Thank you. Questions from the panel? Can I just say, did you say you've been there 22 years? Is that right?
2001 we moved in. So if you're aware of Budgie, we experienced the original hotel. And, right. You know, the original, we're having more issues with the new ownership than we had with the previous ownership.
And was there any? We were provided with a copy of the, I think 2007 consent, at least anyway. Look through some of the conditions. There's nothing requiring, say, a community liaison committee. But was there any comment you can make about a sort of engagement with proactive or otherwise with adjoining neighbours previously and currently about any concerns that might arise? Is there a forum for, you know, the public and licensee to meet with residents regularly and talk through any issues and direct phone numbers and all that sort of stuff? How does that work?
Sorry, was that question directed at me, Chair?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, right.
No, there's not. And so when the group first maintained ownership or took over the business, I sent an email because we were experiencing a lot of car park noise, and the main car park, as you'll see from the maps, is on the boundary of the residential area. Now, previous ownership would exit everybody through the front doors and close the back door. Everybody goes out the front and they'd disperse people from there. Send an email, we'd make phone calls, and these were all largely ignored. And now they are utilising that method to exit people from the business. But yeah, they really haven't been very approachable or listening to concerns. An example might be, you know, one Sunday evening there were 4 males walking down the street in an aggressive manner, urinated on a neighbour's caravan and expressed how drunk they were. in not exactly those words, I might say. You know, we contacted the business, the owner's son actually was there, and the response was it's just a couple of blokes having a good time. So, you know, like I say, we've lived here for 23 years, and I'm a junior compared to some of the residents that are around here. And so, you know, we don't expect it to be church-like at night, the quiet, but we expect to be able to, you know, have our windows open of a night time and those kind of things, and for their better reasonable behaviour.
Thank you. Any further questions from other panel members?
No.
No, thank you. Mr. Drakapula, sorry if I've mispronounced your surname.
No, that's right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. First of all, before I say about what I'd like to say, we have had a lot of consultation with residents and with the police, and where we have made adjustments to the hotel, like there's a front area that was a smoking area, and because there were some people, and we're not talking about late at night, they were bothered that they could hear conversations from people. We soundproof things like that, which wasn't necessary, but we did. And we used to say we've had 4 licensees. We've had the same general manager for 3 years, and he was originally the licensee, but we've given opportunities to other people to be able to be licensee, but he's still acting as the general manager overseeing. We bought a Budgewoi Hotel. It was the Coast Hotel back in late 2021. We settled in February 2022, and I mean, I believe I'm very proud. It's one of the most challenging achievements we've done. This was quite a rough and ready hotel. Over the last few years, we've changed the demographic. There's a lot of families that go there. We've created an award-winning restaurant that hit the papers. So I believe we've done a lot of very good things and created a lot of employment for locals, for especially the younger ones, and there is also a pathway. We've had a lot of consultation with the police over time, and back in April 2024, we had approached them because of the vibrancy reforms. We were encouraged by state government and even some of our councillors that we should, because we support local bands and acts, there is the vibrancy reforms from state government to apply for an extension of trading hours. We'd gone to council, to police, and originally it was 2 o'clock, and they said, look, no, we don't think we'd support 2, but try for 1. Anyway, which is what we did. Since then, and it's not been necessary from our license, but we've done this anyway. Our security guards, for a start, they wear body cams. They all wear fluorescent jackets. They also patrol across the road where Domino's is to try and circumvent if there's any spillage from the other side. We close off the pool tables at certain times to minimise congestion, and from 10 o'clock, I beg your pardon, from 11 o'clock, we close the doors, which is closest to the residents. So all patrons have to leave from the front. And that smoking area that I said that we've put acoustics all around it, we close that at 10 o'clock anyway. So I believe we've had an enormous offered an enormous benefit to the greater community. And I think what we're doing, I think people enjoy it. I also believe the additional hour at the moment, if it's 11:30, 11:45, there's a congestion of people wanting to leave at the same time because they're not really done yet. Going to the 1 o'clock, and I discussed this with the police, I honestly believe that there will be a fading out of people, so we won't have those issues. We offer water, we have our courtesy bus and so on. And in fact, I'm so confident that if we were awarded a 1 o'clock license, there would be no negative to the area. And in fact, I'm so confident you could give me a trial, and if it doesn't work, knock it back. We've done everything that's asked upon us and more. we want to continue to invest in the area and help the tourism of the area and create jobs and so forth. And we're following the guidelines set by government, and we're very proud of what we have. And I refute. We do speak to the locals, and they do have our telephone number, and they do come and visit us. So I think it's unreasonable to make those statement of claims. I'm proud of every one of my venues that I operate. None more than Budgewoi Hotel. We've invested. I've actually bought a house and live up that way, and I think it's a beautiful amenity and one that will only get better. But we need to justify it, which is why we're asking for the 1 o'clock, and we want to encourage more and more local artists that can come and play their music and what have you, which is what we've been asked to do by government, and our patrons enjoy that family environment. So I think the easiest is if you're concerned, give us a trial, and if it doesn't work, you'll know soon enough.
Thank you, Mr. Dragopoulos. I know, Mr. Pilch, you got your hand up. It's not a backwards and forwards, as I mentioned up front, but if there's something very briefly factually, as opposed to an argument.
I just wanted to address some inaccuracies in the statement. The smoking area was part of the redesign that was unapproved from the hotel. It wasn't there prior. So they implemented this smoking area, and now he's saying that he's gone the extra mile and put
Okay,
a
hang on. Look, I don't want to enter into a debate here backwards and forwards.
Sorry, the vibrancy reforms relate to exactly what he was saying, but they don't relate to that hotel because they have restrictions on their liquor license. Vibrancy reforms don't apply to anyone with a liquor license restriction for noise, which they have, and the security has to review the surrounding area as part of their liquor license.
Thanks, Mr. Pilz.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Panel members, any questions? And I'll also afford you the opportunity, Mr. Dragopoulos, to quickly respond to that, but I'll just see if the panel's got any questions.
Yeah, I've got one to Mr. Dragopoulos. Mr. you've mentioned all of these improvements to the hotel, but from the written objections that we've received quite a lot, and they're all about the same sort of thing, which is fights and loud noise and, let's say, difficult behaviour as people leave the place. It's a bit hard to understand that things have improved the way you've said, when all of these complaints, which seem to come from people who experience the disadvantages. What do you say about that?
Well, two things. If you were to look at all the objections, there's 6 or 7 that came in within about 60 to 70 seconds. So I question how many different email addresses we use for that. That's the first thing. Secondly, we refer to the complaint. We're talking April 2024. This was a very challenging pub. This used to be a bikie pub with a lot of drugs sold, and it was a very challenging turnaround for us, and we're very proud of what we've done. It wasn't a busy pub before, and it was a very intimidating pub. But now we have a lot of ladies coming, we have a lot of families coming, and certainly if there's more people there, there's going to be some more noise. But it's a community asset. So it's no longer, they've all been barred, and we did it with the help of the police, mind you. So all of those undesirables have been kicked out. Now, that smoking area that the gentleman was referring to was always there. We beautified it, but it was always there. And because we did beautify it, became busier, but it was always there.
Well,
So,
just a supplementary question.
I don't know if there's anything else that we can do, because everything that's been asked upon us, we have done. And then we are encouraged by government, and the vibrancy reforms are for hotels. The only obstacle we have is for local council to extend our DA, because we are we offer entertainment and we live entertainment, and we encourage the local artists. If the DA is extended, then it's automatic. That's what government is wanting to do. I've met with the state members, and they're encouraging me to do this, because they want to create more of a sense of a community. And I think it's unreasonable to say, not in my backyard. It's a hotel that's been there for 100 years, or however long it's been there. And it's the best it's ever looked. And it might be a little bit busier, and it's because it's very desirable now. Whereas before, and believe me, I was there, and it was scary, but it's not the case anymore. So I think if you went back on the logs, we just say April 24, that was about the last one. And we're now nearly 26.
So, Mr. Pills, what do you say about the fact that there hasn't been any disturbances since 2024?
The complaint process is quite difficult with liquor and gaming. It's not as easy as just ringing someone up and doing it. A lot of the people in the area are quite elderly, and I might add that was part of the issue with the council process for the DA application. A lot of the elderly people around here don't have emails, etc. So the process to make a complaint and to get action out of liquor and gaming isn't as easy as you might think. And yeah,
no, that's not the question I'm asking.
Sorry, what was the question?
It was since 2024, which is the date that Mr. Dracopoulos has mentioned, is indicating that things have been a lot better and there isn't much in the way of disturbances anymore. Is that right?
I'll take your point, sir, that the number of complaints that were received by council in objection to the extension of hours is a clear indicator that it hasn't been resolved.
Right. You live near there though, don't you?
I do, yes. Yes, I'm 4 doors away, and I might add that I didn't receive a council notification for the development application, still to this day.
Okay. All
the
right.
question was still, is it better since April 24 or not? That's the question.
There have been improvements. I will acknowledge there have been improvements because liquor and gaming have been involved. The police have been involved. It hasn't, and to go back to my point, the most difficult period of living here in 23 years has been since Sydney Restaurant Group have ownership of the Budgie Hotel.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the panel to the applicant? I want to avoid the whole sort of town hall debate style. Any questions of the applicant?
Just a quick one. I'm curious, could you just outline what measures you've taken to mitigate some of the negative impacts that are being raised by the surrounding community?
You're addressing me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we put a life ban on every undesirable that had been coming to the pub. So pretty much all the bikies, which meant there was no more drug deals happening in the car park and so on. And that was not easy to do. So that was the first thing. We changed the demographic of the pub with the renovation that we did. So we ended up with a whole lot more couples coming as opposed to just a blokey pub. And then a lot of families. So what ideally we'd like to do is put a children's play area in there as well if we are successful, but with a big screen and activities during school holidays. So for those undesirables, there's no more customers for them to come and do what they do. So that's how we've changed. So that's one of the things we've done. Sorry, someone just called. And then we've had community consultation with the police regularly. We had the police come in, we asked them, or they offered, and we wanted them to come, where they address all our staff and go through the certain procedures and actually congratulate us on if there is ever an incident, and it's a licensed premises, there may be one from time to time, but it's copybook, textbook responses from us. And we've got logs for all of that, There's cameras everywhere. We've got guards with body cams. They've got fluorescent vests. They patrol around, not just around the pub, across the road as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's got to be reasonable. And again, I'm confident. Give me Give me a trial. I'll shoot myself in the foot if I'm saying furphies.
Any questions from other panel members? Ms. Brodbeck?
Yeah, I just might just get Mr. Dracolopoulos to confirm. I mean, our understanding is that the police have not supported this application.
The police, when we first went to them, we'd said 2 because the vibrancy reforms had said 2. They said, look, we don't think 2, we look 1. Anyway, and this is a good year ago. And then they showed me their letter. Their letter wasn't necessarily about the pub. The letter was about the demographic of Budgewoi. I think that they've seen the challenge that we've had and they've seen the improvement. Both the commanders there, the joint commanders.
But they haven't supported this application.
No, but in their letter they weren't derogatory of the pub. They were derogatory of the demographic of because of domestic violence and so on of Budgewoi. But I don't think they were disparaging of the pub.
Okay,
now,
thank you.
But weren't they linking the antisocial behaviour with the extra hours and concerned that there would be a rise in crime in an area where that relative crime is much higher than the rest of the area and state? Wasn't that the point?
I don't believe so.
You don't?
I don't believe so because the demographic we're attracting is not criminally based.
Any more questions from the panel?
Sorry?
No, I'm just checking with the panel. Any other questions? I've got a couple to finish with. So have you, I mean, you run a number of venues. So, and firstly, would you accept that when you've got a pub on the boundary of a residential zone, it's a bit more of a sensitive interface than a pub in the middle of a commercial area? Would you accept that or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
And with the consultation, so have you engaged in any, do you have like a regular proactive consultate, like you every 3 months you have an open invite to neighbours to come and talk directly? Do you have anything where you're proactively going out, or you just, so when you were saying before you've responded to every issue, right? So what's the proactive engagement that you have going on?
I believe, my general manager is not with me, who was the original licensee, that he is on a speed dial with the locals. So
right.
Many of those
responding
locals
to issues, right? You don't have a forum though to regularly meet.
Yeah,
right.
many of those locals actually frequent the pub, so they have discussions. So
Can I suggest it'd be a good idea for you to do that, to build some social benefit? I mean, just set up a meeting with the locals, invite them to come, and then talk through any issues and proactively. Because I'm not sure, maybe things have improved more recently, and if that continues, and no doubt you'd gain ongoing support. I'm not sure. And have you got anything to say about the unauthorised, the claims of unauthorised works? What's your response to that?
I believe that was with our builder. I believe that is, I don't know, I thought it was resolved, but if it's not, it's something that our builder was undertaking and our architects.
Right. And what are the security arrangements? So what nights, at what hours do you have security attending there?
Depends on the time of the year, but it's most nights. Like on a Saturday, we could have 6. Let's say grand final night, we would have had 8. And
so
then
it's dependent on numbers in the pub, is it? And so how do you decide in advance how many to have?
You can, we run forecasts and budgets, so we have it.
Yeah, right. You know, based on if there's a grand final line or at the end or whatever else. Right. Okay. So it's anticipating likely crowds based on experience.
And the firm that we use, they're quite prominent. So if there is a spike in patronage, they can pull someone from somewhere else and so on. So we're quite comfortable, or confident, I should say, with the security that we have. We certainly don't skimp on them.
But it's flexible. You don't have, it's not like you always have one on these nights after X PM. That's not the case. Is that right? It's flexible.
There's a guard, I think, correct. I think there's a guard every night, because if it's like, say, till 12 o'clock, there's got to be someone there for the last couple of hours. Especially
are they directed to only resolve issues within the pub, or do they resolve issues of disquiet in and around the pub?
No, their role is to stay on the outside of the pub. If there's an issue within the pub, they're on their walkie-talkie, and our staff, the licensee, or the manager on duty, would call them in. But their job is, we believe everyone in our pub is happy and satisfied, and if there's an issue, we address it. It's more a matter of what's the ambient noise, and we've had all the acoustic things done, and we're way under.
So back to the question, they don't just deal with issues in the pub, they also deal with issues surrounding the pub, is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Right, okay. And the staggering argument, so I think what you, as I understand the argument to be, is everyone sort of piles out close to 12. If you open it to 1, then it'll be staggered. So if that's the case, why isn't it staggered now before 12, between say 10 p.m. and 12? And what's to say it won't be concentrated at 1 at late hours?
Because when we have a band on and the band starts at 9 o'clock, you're not going to leave half an hour after the band. It's fun, it's exciting, it's their Saturday night or Friday night or whatever, usually Saturday night. And it's 11:30, and you might get my generation who might leave at 10:30, 11. And then you might get the generation beneath, they want to stay a bit longer. But most of the people stick around until 11:30, and it's a bottleneck. So are you saying the bands, so why wouldn't the bands just open a bit longer? I mean, if they're allowed to open longer, wouldn't the same thing happen at 1 and the band just goes on a bit longer? No, because I believe as the generations of demographics, they will start to fade away. But when you,
so the bands won't be opening. The bands won't be. Is that in your plan of management that it still finishes earlier and then it allows a staggering after, or is there any management?
I think we showed the band stopping half an hour before.
Right.
That's
what they do. Right now, but if they finish half an hour before a new time frame, won't the same issue happen about this?
No, because I think a lot of people they're spent. They've had enough.
Oh, they go before the band finishes. Is that what you're relying on?
Yeah,
right.
Yes, of a certain age. So at the moment, it's they're still excited that they haven't been there long enough. Giving them the extra hour, I honestly believe, and that's another venues that we oversee as well.
And is there a courtesy bus that you provide?
Yes.
Right, yeah, I saw that was on the consent. Is that like a few nights a week or something? How does that operate?
It's every day.
Right.
There's a courtesy bus every day.
Picking up and dropping off people after a certain hour, is that how that works? Right.
Yes, especially some elderly people. I mean, I've driven it myself when I first moved up there. So yeah, we go and pick up, disabled people or anyway, and bring them to the pub and then take them home.
Thank you. I think we've had a good hearing and understand different points of view on this. Any last questions from the panel? I think I'm finished. Okay, thank you for your attendance.
I urge you to consider a trial. I urge you to consider. You will know if I'm not good enough.
Yes, thank you. We did hear that. Okay, thanks everyone. That finishes the hearing from those 5 items and questions from the panel. So at 1:51 p.m, I will declare this public meeting closed. And for the panel, I think if we can reconvene it to another pathway, that'll allow some break. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. When should we expect a determination?
I think I mentioned up front, usually within a few days of the meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Bye-bye. See you all soon.